Hey guys, I'm Hop. Thanks for tuning in to TFBTV. I'm out at the range today with 3 optics-ready Glock 19 clones, which you can see on the table in front of me via the magic of having 2 camera angles. Production value. It's what makes TFBTV the best. From your left to right, they are the Adams Arms AA19, the Shadow Systems MR920 Elite, and the new RMR cut version of the PSA Dagger. I'm going to be reviewing all 3 of these pistols in order of most expensive to least expensive, which may be a little shocking because you saw the title of the video, you clicked on it, you already know we're starting with the AA19. Even though the Shadow Systems MR920 Elite is one of the Gucciest of the Gucci Glock clones, the AA19 actually costs a little bit more than it. So, let's take a look at this pistol, see if we can figure out where the money went, see if we can figure out if it's worth it. Stick around. Alright, we gotta start this off by talking about price, because I already teased you with it in the intro. The MSRP of the Adams Arms AA19 is $999. I know that's going to make a bunch of you stop watching immediately, and the rest of you are going to look at it and say, wait, isn't that a Polymer 80? The AA-RON 19 is based on a P80 midsize frame, so it has all the usual P80 attributes. The more upright grip angle, lack of finger grooves, good texture, and unfortunately sketchy holster compatibility. Anybody with a CNC machine can make a Glock slide and pop it onto a P80 frame, and suddenly they're in the Glock business. If you know about Adams Arms at all, it's probably for their AR-15 piston conversions. Piston ARs were popular in the mid to late 2000s for a variety of reasons, some of which are no longer applicable, and most of which were not applicable even at the time. $1,000 is a lot for a P80 Glock, but the AA-19 has a trio of upgrades over a stock Glock 19 or other clone. On the top half, we have a threaded barrel and an optics cut slide that uses interchangeable optics adapter plates. On the bottom half, we have an upgraded trigger, the Tango Down Vickers Carry Trigger. The optic adapter plates for the AA-19 are not included with the gun, but they're available from Adams Arms directly and they aren't too expensive. The usual suspects are represented here: RMR pattern, Delta Point Pro pattern, and the Doctor pattern used by Burris and Vortex. Optic plates are more versatile than direct milling the slide for one chosen red dot pattern, but the trade-off is that your optic will always sit higher than on a direct milled slide, and you're doubling up on the amount of fasteners and the number of places something could go wrong. A taller optic means you will need taller iron sights if you want to be able to co-witness them through the optics window. I don't think Adams Arms was concerned about iron sights at all. The sights on this gun are low-profile, blacked-out metal sights, a very strange choice not just for an optics-ready gun, but also a suppressor-ready gun. The AA-19 has a threaded barrel and an optics cut, and if you choose to take advantage of either of those features, your iron sights become purely ornamental. The Vickers Carry Trigger is the most conspicuous performance upgrade on the AA-19. It's a flat-face trigger with a lighter, crisper pull than a stock Glock trigger. Out of the box, I had an issue with sear engagement on the sample I received for review. It was prone to randomly dropping the striker when the trigger reset, causing an inadvertent bump fire behavior. Sort of fun, but mostly just terrifying. This thing is spooky, man. Does not seem right to me. Yikes. I shipped it back to Adams Arms and they replaced the trigger with a working one. The trigger is a boon for deliberate slow-fire accuracy, but I still don't like flat-face triggers. The obsession with flat-face triggers is motivated by the bogus fudlore of trigger finger placement. Where your finger ends up on the trigger depends on the size and shape of your hands, and that's it. Don't force yourself to pull the trigger with the pad of your finger just because you learned it in your NRA-sanctioned firearm safety course back in 2004. The safety blade is very small and placed very low within the trigger shoe, so if you accidentally place your finger too far up on the trigger, or pull the trigger with your knuckle, you might not depress the safety blade, and the trigger will freeze up. One of the reasons why I think the trigger is great for deliberate slow-fire groups and bad for a defensive firearm. There's also the problem I mentioned with holster compatibility, because at the end of the day, the AA-19 is basically a Polymer 80. The P80 is mechanically the same as a Glock 19, but dimensionally it isn't. The length between the bottom of the dust cover and the top of the slide is too tall, so it won't fit properly into Glock holsters. For carry holsters, that's not necessarily the end of the world. Plenty of holster companies make holsters that fit the P80 frame shape specifically, just not any of the ones I like. For duty holsters, it is the end of the world because there is only one company that makes duty holsters, and that company is Safariland, and Safariland doesn't make holsters for the Polymer 80. For the review of the Adams Arms AA19, I attached a Streamlight TLR1 weapon light so I could use it with the Filster Floodlight OWB holster. The Floodlight holsters index off of a light and are almost completely pistol agnostic. This is a sport holster though. It only offers mediocre friction retention. I ran into all of these problems when I built my own Polymer 80, and that's why I got rid of it. I like the grip shape and texture of the P80 frame, and it does have real 1913 slots on the dust cover for easier mounting of weapon lights. None of that stuff is really worth the trade-off. You still can't beat a Glock brand Glock frame, except possibly with the Shadow systems, which we will talk about next time. So far, the value equation just isn't adding up here. The AA19 does have a few small upgrades, like an extended magazine release, which is nice. That's something I do to all of my Glocks. Most of the details on this gun seem like bad value. The fact that it doesn't include with an optics plate, even though it's only like $15 on their website, come on. The low profile, low visibility iron sights are not great. The gun includes one Magpul P-Mag, and it even retains the Glock factory slide release, not extended or improved in any way. Even Glock's in-house extended slide release lever would be a welcome upgrade. Those things only cost like $20. The pistol also doesn't have an O-ring to keep the thread protector on the standard half-by-28 threads of the barrel. It kept coming loose and backing off after every magazine or so. Even the RMR cut PSA dagger has that at about a third of the price. I ended up installing a Griffin micro carry comp on this pistol since my 9mm suppressor is lost in the Byzantine paperwork purgatory of the ATF's esteemed NFA branch. The Griffin comp is very small, and the ports aren't biased towards any particular direction, so it has virtually no effect on recoil. It's a glorified thread protector, but that's kind of what I was looking for anyway. Let me offer my unsolicited and inexpert advice to Adams Arms for how to improve this thing. First, ditch the threaded barrel. It's an okay option, but the juice yield when suppressing handguns is not in line with the squeeze, if you catch my drift. It's not practical, and after the novelty of the first mag wears off, it's not even really fun. Number 2, just go ahead and take about 80% off of that slide milling. Most of it isn't necessary, and a lot of it isn't attractive. Number 3, ditch the optics plate and just direct mill it for the RMR pattern. Offer another version for the Delta Point Pro if you think people are still buying those. I know the Acro and Holosun 509 are gaining ground, but the install base for the RMR is huge, and Trijicon has to be working on a new optic to appeal to the closed emitter cult sooner or later. Trijicon is not an agile company, but that doesn't mean they're stationary. Whatever their new optic is will probably have to be RMR compatible for maximum profit potential. Number 4, put some upgraded sights on there. I'm not asking for tritium or fiber, but if you're going to make a suppressor-ready or optics-ready pistol, or a suppressor-ready optics-ready pistol, it needs suppressor and optics-ready sights. High-end Glock clones like the Shadow systems earn their spot on the roster by offering tons of upgrades for the cost. Budget Glock clones like the PSA Dagger are in the mix because they offer a few choice upgrades and still come in lower than a stock Glock. The AA19 needs to be way better if they're going to ask $999 for it, or way cheaper if they're going to sell it as is. Thanks for watching, guys. TFBTV is supported by our sponsors Ventura Munitions and Top Gun Supply. We are also directly supported by our awesome viewers via Subscribestar and Utreon. You can still support us on Patreon. However, if you want to be eligible for all the giveaways that James puts together as a way to say thank you, you need to be on Utreon or Subscribestar. Patreon doesn't like guns. They don't like us. They're catching on to our shenanigans. See you next time.